Hello everybody, welcome back once again. I've got another Octopath Traveler 2 video for you here. This time I'm just going to talk a little bit about kind of like tips, my recommendations, and maybe some things that I've learned over the course of the game. And I think the first place to start is probably with who you choose to be your starting character. I think the best choice is Oswald. Um, if you've watched my walkthrough, you'll know that I used Oswald almost my entire playthrough. And that's because of his ability to identify weaknesses right at the start of battle. I think that's an incredible, useful thing to know, right? He's just going to be gathering information for you the entire game. The first time that you run into an enemy, you'll reveal one weakness, and then any subsequent battles, you'll reveal two. So, a very, very useful ability to have. Not only that, but he's the scholar, or he will always be a scholar, right, as his default job or his primary job, and he'll actually be able to use that analyze command as well, which is going to do basically the same thing, right? You're going to reveal the HP and one weak point of a single foe. Using BP on that allows you to reveal multiple weaknesses. Basically, you'll reveal one weak point per BP spent. So obviously at 0 BP, you'll reveal one weak point. If you use 1 BP, you'll reveal 2, and so on and so forth. So, he's basically just the information gatherer. Not only that, though, the scholar job itself is amazing. Fireball hits all, basically Fireball, Ice Wind, and Lightning Bolt hit all enemies, and they, strike at one, a specific weak point. So Fire, Ice, and Lightning. Maybe that's obvious, but the ability to hit multiple targets with an ability is really nice, especially for trash fights, right, where you're just trying to kill everything quickly and move on with your life. Those are just incredible. Also, Elemental Barrage is kind of great as well. It's not as good when there's multiple enemies. This is really good for exposing and breaking enemies that are kind of alone. There's a random aspect to it, though, fire, ice, or lightning. So obviously the more vulnerabilities that are paired up, like fire and ice, the better this is going to be for you. And I found this really, really useful in duels, right? Like if you've got an enemy that is weak to fire and ice, there's a really, really good chance that Elemental Barrage is going to hit, that enemy and break multiple shields. So very, very good ability. And then Alphon's Wisdom is insane as well. So boost the intensity of a single ally spells 3 times. So basically, when you use Alphon's Wisdom, it's going to turn Fireball into a 3-strike ability instead of just a single, and it's still going to hit all enemies. So very, very, very good ability. Very good character. Also, the advanced magic is pretty solid as well. It says boost the intensity of a single ally spell 2 times. So that'll turn, again, like your Fireball or your Ice Wind or your Lightning Bolt into a double strike. So not as powerful as Alphon's, but you can use this basically with, you don't have to use BP to use it like you do with Alphon's. But yeah, great character. The scholar job itself is insane, and I highly recommend getting as many licenses as you can from the Scholar Guild and give that generally to as many of your characters that are in your party as well. Just to basically have copies of Oswald almost, right? It doesn't work quite that way or quite that well, but pretty close. The only problem I have with Oswald is actually his latent power. Probably 99% of the time you're going to be just running around fighting random garbage, monsters, and you're only going to be doing bosses like 1% of the time. And his latent power is good, really, for bosses. I guess for his duels too, right? Like when you're mugging people, it's good for those as well. But not for kind of just random encounters, which again is like 99% of the game. So that's the only detriment that Oswald has. All right, so the next thing that I would talk about, and actually I kind of already have mentioned it, is just that really that scholar job is so good that I recommend, getting as many of those licenses to give to the characters that are traveling with you, right? Like in your party for the moment. And for the same reason, the ability to hit multiple enemies and take advantage of 3 different elements is a big deal. I don't know if any of the other jobs are as flexible as this one. But that also does mean, though, that if you are not facing enemies that have a fire, ice, or lightning vulnerability, then you've got some gaps in your coverage. There's plenty of other things, like all of the the different weapon abilities, and there's actually enemies in the game that only have weapon vulnerabilities. So the scholar job is not going to be able to take care of any of those vulnerabilities, aside from the staff, obviously, because you'll always have a staff if you have the scholar job as a secondary. But so then you really just need to figure out other ways to exploit those. But the reality is, though, too, at a certain point your character will start becoming so strong, and if you've got decent gear, you don't even really need to worry about breaking shields on the kind of like trash monsters, right? You'll be able to just bulldoze them down anyway. Towards the end of the game, Oswald with the Stone of Truth was able to take out entire groups of enemies and without even exploiting any weaknesses. So I guess just keep that in mind as well. Okay, so the next thing that I really recommend doing is getting Vigorous Victor for everybody. Vigorous Victor is the first support skill that you can learn from the Apothecary job. Basically, you need to purchase the first, or not the first, but you need to purchase 2 skills from the Apothecary in order to learn this. Very cheap. I think the first skill that you learn will cost you, I think it's 30 SP, and then the second one will be 100. So you'll get one of the best passives in the entire game with only a 130 SP investment. So highly recommend getting this for everybody. It will keep somebody like Oswald going, right? Like you're going to be casting constantly with him, or I was. And so the ability to just restore your SP automatically at the end of battles is incredible. Obviously, it also it also restores your HP. The other great thing about this is as you get more and more HP and SP, it becomes even better. So, load your gear. Like Oswald is really good if you load him up with SP increasing gear, because not only it gives that it gives you a better pool, but you'll also restore more when you are victorious. This is really a skill, though, that's for random like trash monsters. You don't really want to be equipping this for boss fights because you'll probably want something that gives you a little bit more power. But really, really solid support skill, and one of the best, if not kind of like the best, for kind of like leveling and stuff. The next one is a step ahead. Now you need to unlock the inventor job to get this, and and basically make 2 inventions yourself, right? Very, very easy to do. I'm kind of in the process of making a guide on getting all of the different inventions, but you can get this incredibly early in the game, and it is a huge deal. I can't stress how good this is. Even towards the end of the game and at like the final bosses, this ability is incredible. So it says the equipping character will act first at the start of battle. The other great thing about this is it's not like Heightened Senses, where it says gain an increased chance of attacking first in battle, but equipping multiple characters with the skill has no added effect. That is not the case with this step ahead, which makes this far superior. It'll make it so that basically if you equip this on all of your allies will get a full turn before the enemies can even act, and that is really, really good, especially if you're trying to farm Octopath monsters as well as Kates. It's good for boss monsters. It's just always good. I love this ability, and I highly recommend using it on everyone. There's a couple of other ones that I think that are really worthwhile, just in general. One of those is Boost Start. So it says grants the equipping character 1 BP at the start of battle. This is incredibly useful for almost everybody. There's one notable exception, which is Particio. He doesn't really need that because of his BP, or I'm sorry, his latent ability. And so his full power ability is better because it will completely restore his latent power at the start of the battle, which you can then activate right away to completely fill his BP. But yeah, again, in most cases, Boost Start is a incredible ability. Some of the other kind of like random ones that I think are good is like more rare monsters. If you're just running around fighting, trying to level and stuff, you'll always want to have this on. This is going to increase the rates of meeting up with Kates and Octopuffs, which again is those are incredible experience. JP, oftentimes really good cash as well. So definitely recommend at least keeping one character with this. And there, the warning, it says equipping multiple characters with the skill has no added effect, so only use this on one character. Another one is going to be the Life in the Shadows. You'll always want to have this, again, on at least one character, and you'll always want to be fighting at night. Obviously, you're going to receive the additional XP and JP after battles. Another one similar to that is going to be the Extra Experience. It just says receive additional XP after battles. Same deal, only equip one character with this. So and also spread these abilities out, right? Unless you've got, I don't know, somebody like Agnea, right, who I didn't really have her doing much damage. You could probably equip Life in the Shadows and Extra Experience on her, and that's not going to be that big of a deal. But mostly, you'll want to spread this stuff out. Grows on Trees is another one, kind of just a utility passive that you receive, even more cash after battles. Again, only have that on one person. Full power already talked about. Again, this is incredible for certain characters. Particio, namely, I think he's the best one that can make the most use out of this. Temenos can make use of it, as well as Casti as well. Those three, for sure, are really, really good with that. Their latent powers are incredible. Temenos is able to, break shields using any attack, and so that's really useful for him. And Casti can do some really, really good stuff with her concoctions, and you can use that for free as long as you have, or as long as you're using that latent power. So, very, very good stuff. Hard Worker can be good early on in the game because you receive additional JP after battles. It does say equipping multiple characters with the skill will have no effect, though, or added effect. So again, spread this out. Don't stock all these different, JP and experience abilities on one person. That is pretty much it for like the early game. Like the rest of this stuff, I would go over, but it's not as useful, I find, for doing the random encounters. Price of Power can be good on somebody like Oswald, or really anybody that's going to be using a lot of like elemental attacks, right? Because it doubles the amount of SP that you have to use, but it also increases their power. This actually is a very, very good ability. The only problem is that it does take the Arcanist, right? And that's a job that you won't be getting until probably like the mid game. But yeah, a solid ability. And I'll be honest, I like using, Scholars on everybody. I think I mentioned that earlier, but I do like that job, and having Price of Power on kind of all of your Scholars is sure going to make your abilities, cost more, but be a lot more powerful, and you'll be able to just blow stuff apart, a lot faster. Again, equip characters with SP gear to increase the amount of SP that they've got, and they will restore more with Vigorous Victor as well. Okay, next up is going to be accessories. One of the more important accessories, I would argue, are these Octopuff pots. You can take a look at my experience, or my end game experience and JP farming guide for the locations on all the Octopuff pots, as well as the Kate powders. I think that these are incredible items, and you basically always want to have them equipped when you are running around, throughout the world. It's going to increase the encounter rates of the Octopuffs, as well as the Kate enemies, who are, again, very, very good experience in JP. Combine all of those with the different, JP and experience increasing passive skills, and you'll really be leveling and getting a lot of JP quickly. Also, the Brooch of Joy. This is obtainable through, I think it's Casty's. I think you have to complete Casty's final chapter though. So you won't be getting this, really early by any means, but towards the end of the game, you'll get that. And again, very good. Receive additional XP and JP. There's another one, or another important item here, the XP or EXP Augmenter. That is located out on the ocean. Again, you can take a look at my XP and my endgame XP and JP farming guide. It's located like right over here by Frigid Isle in a chest. You do need the ship though, so again, more of a mid-game accessory, I would say. Let's see, what else? I think that might be it. By the time you get the JP Augmenter, and this is in a dungeon somewhere if I'm remembering correctly, but I don't really think that is a necessary item. I don't really think that that's really needed. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the, I would say really, really, useful overall for farming enemies. Obviously, there's tons of other really good accessories in the game, but I think that those ones are kind of critical, at least for, getting yourself some EXP and JP, and just generally a good couple of accessories to have equipped throughout the game. The other one, though, I would say that was really good for me anyway, because I started as Oswald, was the Stone of Truth. The problem with that, though, that's more of an end game item. That is in the, I believe that was the Infernal Castle, which is like the highest level dungeon in the game. I'm pretty sure that was at the bottom of that. So, unfortunately, you won't be getting that or won't have access to that. But it does make it so that your spells hit twice, which is crazy, and probably is obvious why that should be a end game item. Next up, though, let's talk about the kind of like the characters that I think that are. I mean, I would say probably it's fair to say that they're overpowered, right? One of them being Hikari, the other being really Ochette. I think those two are just crazy. They're just, it's wild to me how powerful they made them, and flexible. So let's start with Hikari. So Hikari has the, if I can see it here, there it is, learned skills. So you can have 5 skills learned, and these are basically just skills that you can, you can replace them with other skills or, keep whatever you want. But anyway, you have 5 different options here as far as skills. Now, the reason why I think Hikari is so powerful is because he's so flexible. So not only does he, get to use he's got the warrior job, which is kind of incredible because of Brand's blade. It does so much damage. But not only that, but then you can, change him into something else too, right? You could do Scholar. Granted, his Scholar's going to be pretty weak because his elemental attack isn't that good, but if you've got a good enough staff, or I guess it doesn't necessarily just need to be a staff, right? One of the other, like a weapon that has a good elemental attack on it, he can be passable as a Scholar. And then on top of that, you can do the same thing that I've been saying all along, is that you've got multi-target fire, ice, and lightning attacks so that you can shred shields from multiple enemies. But he also, these skills, he's got kind of a way to do not all of that as well, but you can do limb from limb is one of the best skills that he gets. It says unleash a sword attack on a single foe 4 times. Now, it's incredibly powerful, and it's a great way to shred shields, obviously. The only problem with that is that's a single target, right? You're only going to be hitting the same enemy. Whereas something like Fatal Fang, dagger attack 4 to 8 times. This thing absolutely shreds shields. But it also has a chance to poison them for 2 turns. So just an incredible ability. Divine Protection, one of the more broken abilities in the game, and I actually, this was the ability that really made my Galdera fight really, really easy, and was really what made that kind of like the strategy that I was using successful. Grant a single ally 1 turn of invincibility. Combine that with the Dancer's Seal Teach's Seduction, and Hikari can use this ability on all allies at once. Add a couple of BP into this, and you can get multiple turns of invincibility. Just an incredible skill. Aggressive Thrust, polearm attack, random foes 4 to 8 times. Not as great, right, out in kind of like the wild, right? Because Oftentimes they put enemies together that aren't all vulnerable to polearm attacks, right? And so having this be like a random aspect to that isn't that great for random encounters, but it's great for duels. So that goes the same for all these other skills, is right, or the same way, right? So limb from limb and fatal fang, amazing for duels. Mythical boar, this also was more of a duel ability, but Hikari does get some other skills, like there's a couple of bow attacks that do multiple hits and hit all all enemies as well. So you can really shred shields with Hikari. There's a sword attack that also has a wind component to it. So it's a ability that does a sword attack to all and 2 wind hits to all enemies. That's insane. Wind attacks are really hard to come by in this game. Really, you're looking at somebody like Agnea, right? She's able to do wind to all enemies, and also Casti can use wind attacks with her concoctions, but it's tough to get that. So keep that in mind. There's a scholar. This guy here has the compound formula ability. I think that's, I think it's fire, dark, and I think it might be light. I can't remember the fourth one. Actually, let's duel this guy really fast, and I'll show you some of why Hikari's kind of so crazy. All right, so this guy has a sword, an axe, and a bow. I actually don't really have that many abilities that'll take care of that, but let's use limb from limb here. And then granted, I'm level 99, I have good gear, so I one-shot him basically, but let's take a look at this this ability. So deal fire, light, and dark base damage to all foes. This is insane. This is actually one of his best abilities for random encounters. Let me just throw this on instead of Mythical Boar. One of the reasons also why Hikari is so good, and especially with that skill there, is that you can do things like equip the Sun Shadow Staff, which raises the potency of light and dark-based attacks. And then you can use the... there's a sword somewhere here that increases the damage of dark-based attacks. If I can find it. Heretics. Heretics raises potency of dark-based attacks. I think there might be a dagger as well that raises dark attack. But anyways, the great thing about elemental damage on Hikari is that he can increase it in so many different ways. So again, like you can have and they stack. So the Sun Shadow Staff is going to increase the damage of that compound formula. And then you can do like, if you don't do the Heretics Greatsword, you can do the, where is the Fire Starter, increases the damage of fire attacks. There is a Spear that increases fire attack damage as well. Scorched Bone Spear, there it is, raises potency of fire-based attacks. So you can stack up a lot of this different like elemental type damage on him and really do some crazy. There's just crazy builds. Again, though, keep in mind that's if you've got Hikari as a arms master. If you go with some other things, right, like he will always be able to equip swords and poles, so he's always going to be able to like increase that like fire damage, especially, right? But you could do some other things as well, like change him to. I don't know, I thought I vaguely remember Hunter being okay. Let me just see here. Yeah, Hunter's axe bow. So you can equip like the battle-tested axe, which is going to increase your ice and lightning damage, and then the bow. Also, there's a bow that increases ice damage. So if you can learn an ability that has ice damage on him, you can equip. You can. He's just so flexible, which again is one of the reasons why I think he's incredible and one of the best characters in the game. Okay, so next up is Ochette. I actually recommend using Ochette pretty much in your party almost the entire game. For one thing, she is able to, when she captures, she can prepare enemies into, basically turn them into food, which has, various different effects. Some of them are buffs, some of them are lame, but just kind of generally a good character to have with you at all times. As of right now, there is a bug also with Ochette. After you've completed her story, she gets the ability called Provoke Beasts. It says summon 3 monsters and provoke them in her. It's already really, really good, But right now there actually is a bug where you max out your BP, then press the latent power or activate your latent power, and then end it, and then go into beast lore. And it acts as though you've just used it. It's like it doesn't fully cancel your provoke beast. And if you go into beast lore and then go to provoke, you can summon your your beasts that are supposed to be only summoned once per battle, and you can summon them as many times as you want. So let's use like the Devourer of Dreams here. So Devourer of Dreams is one of the more broken monsters in the game because not only does it does really minor dark damage, but it also adds a basically a sidestep to everybody, so that you'll avoid a physical attack, and then it also adds a reflect to everybody, which will reflect elemental spells, and you can just keep selecting this as though you're using the provoke beast's ability, and there it is. It even shows up as provoke beast. And you can see now every time there, it looks like because I was able to cast 4 times before everything died, it gave me 4 stacks of Reflect and 4 stacks of Sidestep. I'm not going to do that. Let's prepare this guy. And yeah, so that's one of the reasons why Ochet is so broken. The other thing is, though, she's a lot like Hikari in that she's insanely flexible. So I chose Akala. I know a lot of people like to go with the Owl, but I think that Akala is better. It just seems to me that there's more enemies in the game that have no elemental weakness, whereas they only will have physical vulnerabilities, and Akala will always either target or reveal one physical vulnerability of an enemy. So I like Akala the best. He also does really good damage with his finishers. And then, so she does get some flexibility with Terra and Glacius. I think Terra is like 1 staff attack and then 2 fire hits, right? It's either that or it's 2 staff, 1 fire. I can never remember, but a way to basically reveal or take advantage of multiple vulnerabilities. Glacius, same deal, where she's got a way to do ice, lightning, and wind damage. So she's able to cover, I mean, look at this, you're almost covering every single vulnerability with just these 2 legendary monsters. Now, granted, though, again, unless you're taking advantage of the buff, that's not that impressive, right? Because you need to have a lot of BP to use them. But where that ability becomes really crazy is the fact that you can, acquire a lot of other beasts that have like we'll just say and I don't remember, I think it's like an axe attack and an elemental attack along with it. And so her ability to just shred shields, I think, is unparalleled. I think that nobody else can come close to her because of that. So like the Ancient Frog King, for instance, is a double axe attack, so it'll hit all enemies twice with the axe. And, use that with Provoke Beast, even one that you haven't used a bunch of BP on, and you can shred 6 shields off of all enemies as long as they have an axe vulnerability. Like the Ancient Bird King, is a bow attack to all, and I think it also adds a, if I'm remembering correctly here, a elemental attack buff to allies. So just kind of crazy. So not only can she, shred shields, but she can also buff allies. Same with the Headless Horseman, actually. This is a sword attack to all enemies 1 time, but it also adds 2 turns of physical attack up. And then on top of that, if you use, let's just say you use Provoke Beast 3 times in a row with Headless Horseman, I'm sorry, and it's actually a critical buff as well, you will actually have... you'll cap out, right? If you use that, if you use that 3 times, you'll have 6 stacks of physical attack up, as well as the crit attack up. So again, just her flexibility is crazy, an amazing ability to shred shields. She probably is a good, person to start, or have the, as usual, Vigorous Victor, although that doesn't do that much for her because she's not going to be... Well, that's not true, especially once you get to Provoke Beast, right? If you just provoke a single beast, it actually won't cost you any SP. But if you go through her hunter skill tree, right, and use provoke beasts, that actually does take quite a bit. So that still is a solid, ability for her to have. Step ahead, same deal, just, always amazing. I went more rare monsters. Deal more damage isn't that important for her if you're just doing random encounters. And you're probably looking for something like a BP increase instead, with a boost start. Because again, and also, unfortunately, her monsters never break the 9,999 damage mark, but that's fine. You're really just using her to break shields anyway, and the lack of damage from monsters really isn't a problem. But that's pretty much it for Ochette. Again, I recommend using her basically at all times, not only because she's just crazy broken, but her ability to actually capture enemies and prepare them into food is really good. It's also kind of a cheesy way to end a battle early, right? Like, you don't have to fully kill a monster, right? You can just capture it instead, even though it may have a significant amount of health remaining. Though, keep in mind that your capture rates are dependent on a few things, like whether or not the enemy is broken, whether or not they have a bunch of status effects on them. Like, right, if you load up an enemy with status effects, you increase the chances of capturing it. And then maybe the obvious one is the lower the HP of the enemy is, the more likely it is that you're going to be able to capture. And then on top of that, lastly, the more BP you spend on capture, the more likely it is that you're going to capture that monster as well. Okay, so next up, let's talk duels. I think it's an important part of the game, especially because that's the way Hikari learns his skills, which again makes him extremely flexible. And also, there's a way to get some of the best equipment in the game is by dueling. Let's actually make sure that I've set up correctly here. I like to use Hikari mostly as as arms master for this. You can go with other things. I know for one of the battles that I did for the battle-tested blade, I did merchant so that I could use sidestep, but that's not really necessary if you have the ability that allows you to sidestep. I think it's like Tricks of the Trade. I can't remember where that's found at, but not only is it a sidestep, but I think it's also like a physical damage up buff. So just incredible. Very efficient, very good skill to be using. But anyways, let's start out here in this is New Delsta. I'm actually just going to duel the character that drops the battle-tested bow. You'll want to have like battle-tested blade. If you don't have that already, you want to have the Giant's Club. It says raises potency of physical skills. Now, that does not stack. The Giant's Club does not stack with the battle-tested blade in the same way that the elemental damage abilities is stack, right? So like a Moon Eater, it says raises the potency of fire and wind-based attacks. So that will stack with the tornadoes, raising potency of wind-based attacks. But again, these don't. Physical potency skills, that does not stack, which is a little unfortunate. But just make sure that you've got actually, at least one of those on. We'll challenge her to a duel here. I think I've got the battle-tested spear on as well. You don't need to use that, but really you just want to have the spear that has, the most physical attack on it. And so this is going to consume all of his SP. There I did like 80k damage or something like that. And yeah, basically just completely one-shot her. Now, the only problem with dueling like that is that it's going to annihilate his SP. And so basically after every duel, you need to go in and rest at the inn. If you're poor, go out and do some battles and get yourself some cash and then do this, because that isn't that expensive. But the other person that you'll probably end up dueling with a lot is Oswald at night. If you want to mug things, I like that method because you can always duel people no matter what. As opposed to like if you're trying to steal with Throne, and keep in mind though, also Throne can only steal during the day. I think it is, right? I think she can steal during the day and knock people out at night. So it works a little bit differently, right? Like there's multiple ways oftentimes there's multiple ways of getting equipment from enemies. But I think Oswald is one of the better ways because you can use this basically at any level. You can always challenge people. And even if you lose, it's no big deal. You don't get like a reputation hit in town, and you can just try again. So again, dueling with him is really, really good. I think for dueling with Oswald, though, what you really want to do is you want to have the usually the apothecary job instead. The apothecary, and I don't remember if I went over this already, but hopefully I didn't. But the reason why it's good to duel with Oswald as apothecary is because, for one thing, he can heal himself, which is actually really important. But also his ability to use the poison axe ability combined with weak 2 poison means that, I mean, for one thing, poison damage already does a lot of damage, right? It's like a percentage, and the more HP an enemy has, the more damage you'll deal. But the other great thing is if you stick the weak to poison debuff on the enemy, every time they take a damage from poison, it'll actually break a shield as well. So it can be a really, really good way of making an enemy vulnerable in a duel that isn't vulnerable to your other, kind of abilities. So like, Oswald himself can do fire, ice, and lightning, as well as a staff attack, right? Because that's his equipment. And then obviously there's the axe vulnerability as well, but sometimes enemies aren't vulnerable to that, right? If they don't have that at all, well, then you can make one up by using the poison axe and weak to poison. So one of the other great things with duels, let's go back to daytime here, and I'll just duel her one more time with Hikari. I want to show you one other kind of crazy thing that's like a cheesy way to learn, or to basically win all of these duels, is by using the Bottled Nightmares ability, or the item, I should say. If I can find it, I can never remember where these things are. There it is, Bottled Nightmares. So this can be a little expensive though too. Bottled Nightmares cost 3,000 leaves every time you use one of them. But it is kind of crazy. And if you want to go with this strategy, probably what you want to do is there's an option that makes it so that anytime you go into a menu, the cursor is remembered. I'll go out and do this. But Bottled Nightmares can also do poison, which is one of the things that makes this crazy. So it's poison, sleep, and blind. And so it's just one of the ways to, really make these duels cheesy. I can't believe this hasn't done a poison damage yet, though. Getting a little unlucky here. Let's try one more. And this is why I don't like this, and I never really did this, but I just wanted to throw it in here because it's an option. Yeah, poison, blindness, confusion, and sleep. There's finally the poison, and that was three turns of it. I'm just gonna defend now. You don't want to go too hard on that, right?
Here I come.
But yeah, anyways, I don't know. That's at least an option. I don't like it, but I wanted to at least point that out that is, and it's kind of one of the ways that you can or do these duels really, really early, and kind of like a punch above your weight, right? Is if the enemy is slept and poisoned and blinded, there's a really good chance that they're not going to be able to hit you. And so it should be pretty easy to take them out. The place to get these, and again, it's tough for me to even recommend this because it's so expensive. But what you want to do here is go out here just to the east side of the abandoned village, and find the night market out here. So let's run from these guys. They're scary. They're very scary. All right, that was not the right vendor. But what you want to do here is you want to switch from day to night. These guys are not the right vendors either. You're looking for like 2, I think they're like nuns. So yeah, we'll keep swapping from day to night here. That's the same guy that was here earlier. And unfortunately though, this is random. These aren't the right guys either. Yeah, well these, the nuns don't want to, there we are. Alright, so this is the one that has the soul stones. These are great for taking out Kates, right? It looks like though they only have medium ones, which is a shame. That's the best ones that they've got. But here is the here's the vendor that sells the Bottled Nightmares. One of the other things that you could go like the cheaper route here, and you could do like Bottle of Poison Dust instead, and then maybe like sleeping, right? And that would be a little bit cheaper, but this combines them, so that's why it actually combines all of them. Which is why it's kind of crazy. But again, that's one of the cheesier ways, especially to win duels really early on. Just make poison do all the work for you, and then the other status effects can help keep you safe. Okay, so the last thing that I actually wanted to talk about really quickly is Partitio as Arcanist. Arcanist's job, unfortunately, is kind of more of a mid-game job that you'll get. You need to have the ship, and you'll have to beat a boss, or actually maybe even two bosses to get. No, actually, it is only one. But yeah, that it's located here on. Is it this island? The Lost Isle. Yeah, I think it's the Lost Isle, if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah, anyways, very, very strong job. You'll need to fight. There's a boss here, like on the map. There'll be like a whirlpool thing here. And you take that guy out, and then just sail over here to the Lost Isle. And that'll get you the Arcanist job. It's also kind of a hidden path to get out there. I'm not going to go over that because it's in my walkthrough, but anyways, the job is kind of crazy, especially on Partitio, because of the Seal of Diffusion ability. So let's go into here. So it says, extend the reach of skills that only target the user to affect all allies for 3 turns. So it takes things like Sidestep and Rest and makes it so that they affect everybody. Now, why is that so good? Well, I mean, diffusing a Sidestep to everybody is already insane. And really, really good, but also it just shuts down, monsters that use physical attacks. And then on top of that, though, his Rest ability is crazy as well. So it says restore your own HP and SP and cure status ailments. So basically, you use Seal of Diffusion and then use Sidestep. It's crazy cheap. Look at this. Only a 10 SP cost to put a Sidestep on all characters. Obviously, if you use Boost on this, it will do even more Sidestep. So like a maxed out Sidestep will add 4 stacks of the Sidestep buff to your allies. And then kind of the same thing with Rest, right? 0 SP to restore your own HP and SP and cure status ailments. Now imagine Partitio using that on all of your allies at the same time. It turns him into an insane healer. Now, the other thing that just makes this completely broken is the fact that his latent ability or latent power is to instantly give him full stacks of BP. And so as the battle will go on, he'll recharge his. Basically, you start out, or the way that I usually started out was I would use a maxed out Seal of Diffusion to stack up diffusion on him. I don't remember what the max stack is, but or like a fully maxed out Seal of Diffusion, but that'll allow him to use his Sidesteps and Rests on allies for like whatever 8 turns in a row or something like that, right? And then basically if you run out of your diffusion stacks, hopefully by then your latent power will be back up and you can just use diffusion again, and keep basically healing your allies and curing status ailments. It's so good. If you go that route, what you actually can do then also is equip Partitio with some of the accessories that will prevent some of the other status effects, like confusion and sleep are probably some of the worst ones, right? Because if he's confused or slept, you won't be able to control him, and won't be able to dish out rest to your allies and restore their status effects. So he's just incredible. And the other great thing about that is you don't really need much gear on him then, right? Like his weapons really don't matter because you're probably not going to be, if you're just using rests and sidesteps every turn, his weapons just don't matter. Granted, you'll still want to have a little bit of armor, right? Whatever you can kind of get on him. But he won't need SP really. He won't need, he won't really need SP, right? Because that rest is going to restore so much of his SP. And you're really only going to be spending SP on sidestep at that point. So, again, that's one of the more broken character combos in the entire game, in my opinion. It completely shuts down certain bosses and turns Partitio into a really, really good healer, which means the rest of your characters can do whatever they want. All right, and that's pretty much going to be it. Again, I think that, my tips are just or really just know that the game is based around, breaking shields. That's probably obvious if you've played even a little bit of time here. Um, and for taking out, multiple allies at once, you're going to want to have those multi-target abilities. I love the Scholar. I think that, getting as many Scholar licenses as early as you can is going to really be great. Granted, again, some people like Hikari aren't going to be able to do that much damage with the Scholar, but it's going to give him some flexibility and the ability to, take advantage of elemental weaknesses and break shields. And really, that's, kind of the name of the game, right? It's, break shields, especially like somebody like Hikari is almost perfect with that Scholar, and especially paired up with somebody like Oswald, right? So Hikari can use don't use BP, and try to shred shields. And then once he gets enough BP, he can use Aliphan's wisdom, right? Use up your BP and give Aliphan's wisdom to Oswald, who can then, use his BP to deal a ton of damage with it. So I think that that's kind of the way to go. And again, really highly recommend those classes and characters that can use multi-target abilities. Again, Ochette especially, just insane, like especially once her character story is done. But even before then, she's got a lot of monsters that can do or can like shred multiple shields at once. So that's pretty much going to be it for this one. So as always, hope the guide was helpful, and thank you for watching.